They say Bruce Lee was cursed, not by enemies, not by men, but by something deeper, something darker. Something that looked at his brilliance and couldn't let it be. Couldn't let it burn too bright, too fast, too free. So they say the world conspired to make sure the flame flickered before it ever had the chance to burn its brightest. They say when you rise too high, the gods look down and tremble. They say when you break all the molds, you leave a crack in the universe, and what follows isn't always kind, isn't always fair, isn't always fate. It's just the way the story was meant to be told, even when the ending isn't what you asked for. Bruce Lee didn't die in battle, he didn't fall from a fight. He wasn't taken by the hands of those who feared him, he was taken in silence. In the middle of his life, when the world had only just begun to see how far he could go, how high he could fly. But fate saw something in him that it couldn't quite allow. And then came Brandon, his son, his flesh, his mirror, the echo of his fire, the shadow of his greatness. The name lived on, carried forward, but so did the silence, the stillness, the unknown, because in one cruel, tragic moment, that same thing that haunted his father came for him. Brandon's light too flickered out, same age, same way, same cruel twist of fate, taken when they were just beginning to show the world what they were made of. They said it was a curse, and some still do. They said Bruce Lee was too much, that the world couldn't handle a man who lived without limits. So it took him when he was just beginning to carve his legend, when the universe couldn't turn away from his light any longer, and then it came for his son, the one who carried his name, his legacy, his spirit, and they say the curse had no mercy. It didn't care if it was blood, it didn't care if it was family. It didn't care if it was love, it only cared about the light that burned too fiercely, the fire that couldn't be tamed. Some people don't believe in curses. They call it superstition, they call it sympathy, say it's coincidence. But to those who feel it, to those who walk the shadows of their lives, to those who live beneath the weight of the things they can't explain, they know, they feel it. That chill, that stillness, that whisper in the back of your mind. The one that says, some things happen for reasons we'll never understand. Bruce Lee wasn't just a man, he was a force of nature. A movement, a vision, a philosophy in motion. And the world wasn't ready for him. And when it wasn't ready for him, it tried to bring him down, tried to silence him. But he was too loud, he was too real, he was too big. But when the world couldn't stop him, it turned its eyes on the next generation, the son who had inherited that fire, who walked with the same grace, the same passion, the same hunger for greatness. But Brandon wasn't ready to die. He wasn't ready to leave. He had just begun to step out of his father's shadow, but that shadow was long, and it stretched across a path that was never meant to be easy, a path that carried the weight of the father's greatness, and the curse that came with it. So they say, maybe it was fate, maybe it was the cost of greatness, the cost of living too large, too loud, too free. Maybe Bruce Lee wasn't cursed by anyone. Maybe he was cursed by the very fire he carried inside him. The very fire that burned too brightly for this world to contain. And when that fire wasn't allowed to burn forever, it took something with it. It took Brandon too, but what's real? What can never be taken away, what's too strong to be cursed, is the legacy, the power. The fire that never dies, even when the body does. Even when the voice falls silent, even when the man is gone, the legacy remains. Because Bruce Lee didn't live just to be a legend. He lived to leave something behind. He lived to show that the impossible was just a step towards the inevitable. That no matter how hard they tried to put out his fire, it would never go completely dark. It would always glow somewhere, in someone, in everything he touched. And when they said Brandon was gone too soon, when they said the curse had claimed another, what they didn't see, was the truth that a legacy like that, a fire like that, cannot be extinguished, it cannot be contained, it burns forever, even when it's gone. So call it a curse if you need to, call it fate if you have to, but don't mistake it for defeat, don't mistake it for silence. Because Bruce Lee was never meant to be quiet. His legacy isn't quiet, his name isn't quiet. His fire will never be quiet. It will burn forever, and in every soul that stands up, in every person who dares to be different, in every body that moves through the world like it owns the space it takes. Bruce Lee lives on. His curse is not an end. It's a beginning. It's a fire that will never die. Because some flames burn too bright to be snuffed out.